Hello, class. So I'm Eddie, and this is who I'm going to be interviewing today.
Hey, how are you? My name is Dr. Jeff Fairley. Nice to meet you.
So, what do you do for work?
What do I do for work? Well, I wear a couple hats. So I'm a physical therapist by training. So I have a private practice in Claremont. It's called the Body Center Physical Therapy. So I run and treat patients there. And then my second job is I'm a faculty member and the associate chair at Western University for the physical therapy program. So I teach and do some administration there in that program as well.
Thank you. So I'm just going to take you through a few questions.
Okay.
Just about your job and how it affects you in life.
Sure.
So first question, does your job position help you make better diet and fitness decisions because you know the benefits of them?
Well, I have good knowledge and I'm very human.
Yes.
So I need to be in better fitness. I need to make better dietary choices. So I have the knowledge of it. I don't always do as much as I should, but I've also learned that it's selfish of me to use that as an excuse to not bring it up to a patient or to communicate it to a patient. So I try to be authentic and real with people and saying, I don't always execute on everything that I know I should execute on, but I'm also trying to always fall forward and take the next best step.
Yeah.
And using that knowledge and communicating that with patients, I think is so important, even if I'm not a fitness model the way maybe I should be or would like to be.
Yeah.
I would say particularly in physical therapy, so that's usually more on the rehabilitation side, right? So if we kind of look at the full spectrum, you've had somebody that had some sort of injury, some sort of setback, and they're trying to get usually back to where they were before whatever happened, right? So as opposed to like, hey, I want to improve and I want to have more endurance and more strength, these are folks that usually have had a setback. And so usually the language I'm using is that, hey, this could be your springboard, this could be your diving board, this could be your takeoff point to get back to those healthy goals that you wanted to. So in other words, if you're going to have to do this exercise and do these activities on a regular basis just to get back to your previous condition, well, maybe you can continue to do those things and slowly add to it to actually reach those goals that you've thought about in the past, but you just haven't, disciplined or haven't done it.
Yeah, that's something I could do better with too, because I actually need to go to physical therapy for my shoulder, so I went to the first few appointments, and then recently I just haven't gone. So
well, there can be a lot of challenges. I think one big thing is, and this would be, for all of us, and wherever we are, PT, if you're working as a personal trainer, if you're working as an assistant or aide in a therapy clinic, we've got to show value. We've got to show demonstrated effectiveness, right? Because that's the incentive to say, okay, I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So if it's not really helping, doesn't really make a difference, people are going to be like, meh. But if it's like, man, okay, yeah, when I did the therapy, so my shoulder was feeling better. All right, well, that's the best motivator we can have for you to either get back in it and stuff. So, be excellent is really important.
All right. So the next question, with the position you have, are you satisfied with it, or is there still things that you want to achieve in your education?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I think it is important to kind of find a balance. Sometimes we feel like we're always driven. We have to do more, right? And so I think it is important to kind of find a balance and actually taking some pride in just being excellent at what you are doing. With that being said, I think you also want to have some goals out there. So I'm currently actually enrolled in a PhD program in education. So sort of like a secondary career from where I started as a clinician. Since I've been working and teaching, I'm working towards getting to the point where I have the academic credentials behind it to be hopefully a better instructor, a better teacher, a better administrator, better collaborator with my colleagues, and hopefully have that kind of exponential impact, right? You can only see so many patients in a day, right? Yeah. But if I can help 50 therapists a year be awesome, and then they're going to see, however many people a day, they're going to see 20 people a day, Now, if I can do that for a decade, that's going to make an impact.
Yeah.
That's much bigger than what I could do with one particular patient.
Yeah, that's nice. I actually never thought about it like that. But so third question, does your job position help you to become more aware of other people's feelings? And if so, how do you respond to those feelings?
Let me answer it this way. The concept of building patient rapport is really important in any professional service, right? You have to be able to kind of empathize and connect and relate with other people. At the same time, so that's important. You got to be able to do that, and you have to have a willingness. I think it starts with first and foremost, kind of having a spirit that you want to help somebody else, right? Not for personal gain, not for a paycheck. I'm wired. I believe it's a gift. I believe it is part of my calling to help others, right? And this is the format by which I can do it, right? Some people make great food, and some people can get in the pulpit and preach a sermon, and someone else can do a great TED talk and whatever else. But I can do it either through my physical therapy or through my teaching, right? So I want to help others, and so that's really important that there's a motivation for that. And so with that comes a humility. You're going to put someone else in front of yourself. You're going to let somebody else be the focal point, and not yourself be the focal point. Okay. Then on the other side of that coin, right, from a very clinical point of view, the most cutting edge research in rehabilitation is actually understanding what we call pain science. How does the brain experience pain? And when you start to delve into how the brain experiences pain, you start to realize that it's how the brain experiences life. And so you have to then be willing to start to understand everyone's journey impacts the way in which they experience new, in this case, injuries, setbacks, which then creates individualized fears or individualized false beliefs or individualized apprehensions. That then you're going to try to bridge those and help those people overcome those things. So it's both sides of that coin, I think. One is just being able to be relatable to people, but then also recognizing that a big part of how you're likely going to be able to help somebody is helping them overcome those fears. And if you're not even willing to acknowledge those, if all you're going to do is say, well, your ankle's swollen, so we got to do this, and this to get rid of your swollen ankle, you may not going to be able to help that person to hit their optimal recovery.
Yeah. So do you feel like, depending also on like how someone's come up, you also have to like understand that?
Yeah, I think it can be tricky in the sense that, I can't walk in everyone's shoes. And I can't try to understand everyone's upbringing and worldview and this, that, and the other, right? So I have to start to see like there are some, if you will, universal principles, right? You treat people with dignity, you treat people with respect. You try to understand what this individual's motives and desires and goals are, because they have autonomy, and that autonomy to decide what they want and what their goals are and what they want to go for is their right. It's their choice. It's their gift by being a human, right? And so now I'm going to try to understand those things and do what I can to help facilitate that. Obviously, you're going to try to keep your own morals and principles and ethics, right? You're not trying to help somebody go do something that's nefarious or do something that's going to harm somebody. But, for the most part, that's not the motivation that most people have. For the most part, people have a motivation to go out and do the things that bring them joy and pleasure, and you're going to try to help facilitate those sort of things. You want people to thrive. You want people to flourish, and that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah. All right. So do you feel that your job helps you feel a sense of meaning and purpose in life? And if so, why or why not?
I think I'm really blessed because my job's a people job, and don't get me wrong, I have a high level of respect for, the FedEx guy and the mail guy and the Amazon guy or gal, whoever it is, but I just think if I were facilitating the moving of widgets, I don't know that I would have the same sense of self-satisfaction. So I'm really blessed in the fact that I get to help other people. So then really what I am able to have a small part in sharing in other people's dreams, other people's passions, other people's goals. And unfortunately, sometimes there's setbacks, sometimes there's sorrows. I work sometimes with a geriatric population. I have patients whom I saw both spouses, and now there's only one remaining. And so I'm working now with a widow who has stories of their spouse and how, so it's not always roses and butterflies and unicorns and stuff, but that human experience is a beautiful thing, and you get a chance to actually be engaged with people. So for me, that's what fills my bucket. If I was a stock trader, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind their bank account, but yeah, I don't know if I'd be satisfied.
So do you think, like, when you were first coming into schooling and that, do you think you always had that in mind, like you wanted to help people, so that's what led you to this career?
Boy, I don't know if I had that level of introspection. You young guys, man. I was, a kid that went to a really small school, was a moderate-sized fish in a really small pond, and then quickly realized that there is no more sports after high school. That's it. I'm an average guy like everyone else. But PT was my connection to that sport, was that connection to the athleticism and athletics. Something switched for me. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years into it, I was working and really kind of focused on treating athletes and that was kind of my deal. And I remember I had this older gentleman, I was working with him in the hospital, and his one goal for therapy was, can we walk to the bathroom so he could go to the bathroom? That was his goal. And I'll spare you the details because we accomplished it, right? And he got back into the bed and was literally crying because he's the head of a household, he owns his own business, he has been fiercely independent his whole life, decision maker, and because of certain circumstances, he was reliant on a nurse assistant to help him go to the bathroom in his bed and to wipe him up and all these other things. And the ability to do that by himself and not have to have that experience was just a huge deal for him. And ultimately, shortly after that, he was able to discharge and go home. But for me, it kind of saw like, man, okay, I'm helping this athlete, run a 4.6 when he's running a 4.7. And that's awesome, but there's other awesome experiences for humans to have, and so it did kind of change and open up my worldview a little bit.
So do you feel that you have a balance between work and other areas of your life? If so, how do you manage to maintain the balance?
Probably not the best guy to talk to about that. Like I said, I've learned to give myself a little bit of grace and think of myself as a work in progress in the areas that I want to be better at. And I work a lot. I work hard. I work a lot, and I enjoy what I do. I'm very blessed in what I do. And I temper myself and say, hey, it's not because I have like 3 boats and jet skis and I got 3 awesome kids and trying to provide for them and give them the opportunities that I can. It's a lot of work. I work hard, and I'm trying to work smarter, not longer hours. If there's a goal for 2023, it's going to be to work smarter, not longer. I always work hard. It's how many hours. So you brought up a good point with that question, man. I don't know. You got something stirring in me. Go for it. What's next? Let's move past that. I'm not a good role model for that one. I work too much.
Yeah. So outside of working, do you have any other interests or hobbies that are mentally stimulating?
Mentally stimulating. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm involved with different organizations, and their mission and their goals are important to me. So I'm a board member at Care Youth League, which is this after school sports program that I grew up with as a kid, and really kind of exposes kids to both sports as well as ethical Christian training, which I think can really help young people get a good firm foundation in life to get started with. So I'm a big supporter of that program. So therefore, I'm engaged in thinking about, the mission and how we're gonna raise funds or how we can help improve the program. I sit on the board for the LA County Fair Association, which is another great organization that I'm really proud of, because they redirect all the funds that they raise back into serving the community in lots of different ways, through leadership programs for high school kids, trade school training for high school and college age kids, child development programs. So there's a lot of reinvestment back into the community by the community. So that's a big deal to me. I don't know. I think as you get a little bit older, you start to think about the future. Try to think of the future of how you want it to be, both in the micro and also in the macro. Because you can create an environment for your family and your kids, right? But then they're also going to live in this broader world, right? And how do we have a positive influence on the macro vision of the world? How do we impact that? So I do think I'm a big believer in the open debate of ideas. I really think probably the most problematic big picture idea is this idea that we can't even discuss issues and find areas of agreement, areas of disagreement. I think this age of being offended when anyone has a position different than yours is really dangerous, in the fact that people can't start to kind of work through those ideas. I'm a debater by nature, so the way I understand information, understand complex situations, is to kind of hear the back and forth between different sides, have different viewpoints and different agendas, to then kind of sort through what's factual, what's not factual, what's important, what's not important, so I can kind of come up with my understanding of where I sit on a certain issue. And the silencing of that kind of debate is, I think, a really terrible thing. So you talk about what things I think about, right? Those are things that are, I try to facilitate to the extent that I can in my teaching, that open communication, free exchange of ideas within the context of what we're teaching in the world of physical therapy, because I think it's really important.
Yeah. And when you go into those debates, do you feel like you always go in with like an open mind? Maybe you'll learn something new?
Well, I think yes. I think that we are given a sense of intelligence, an ability to process information. So I don't usually go into any discussion or any thought process with no opinion. Whatever data that I have is what I've used to formulate some opinion. But I also have a humility to recognize that I probably don't have every piece of data, and I probably haven't seen it from every different angle. So therefore, I am open to hearing contrary viewpoints and understanding where they're coming from. And then either that's gonna either help me make even a better informed decision, refine my idea. So it's sort of like what we do in physical therapy. We start with a hypothesis about what's wrong with this individual, right? And then we work to kind of prove that hypothesis wrong, right? And then as we gather more and more data that does not refute what we hypothesize, but actually supports it more and more and more, we elevate our confidence in our hypothesis being right, and elevate it, right? So I think it's that same kind of approach to, should tax rates be higher or be lower, right? Well, I have an idea about it, and then I'm gonna have a hypothesis about it, and we're gonna take that data in, we're gonna start saying, well, does that help further support my hypothesis, or does it cause me to reject my hypothesis? So.
Yeah. How do you deal with negative emotions at work and not bring them out at work?
Well, I think first and foremost, what I've learned over time is humans are emotional beings. And to reject that or to pretend that that's not true does not really work. So I'll oftentimes talk to a patient and say something like, if we're talking about your knee and there's some mild to moderate arthritis there, right? So if I talk to your right side of your brain, right, the deeply logical side, what it means is the surfaces are starting to wear, so there's less cushion between the two. So if I start to talk to you about the physics, the impact of you hitting the ground creates a ground reaction force that has to be dissipated by your bones. If we could put a pressure gauge in there, that we could see that those pressures aren't being dissipated effectively. They're going into the bone, and that creates a painful experience. Now, let me talk to your left side of your brain. That painful experience is what's keeping you from being able to run the way you want to. It's what's keeping you from being able to play with your kids when they want to go to Disneyland and you're like, I can't stand that long because it's going to hurt. It's also what is making you think, what am I going to do about this knee? I don't know if I want another injection. I don't know if I want more medication. Man, knee replacement surgery sounds really scary. They're going to cut me open and they're going to put that's overwhelming, right? Okay, so now let's see if we can kind of look at this whole picture here. Let me try to calm that left side of your emotional brain down a little bit. And let me also speak to your right side of your brain so you have the rational information that you need. All right, so in that mindset, when I just kind of told you how I kind of break that down, I'm not saying it's the perfect way to do it, but it's the way I do it. I try to give myself that same grace, right? I am super frustrated that, okay, fill in the blank. Okay, high inflation, okay? I am super frustrated that our clinic is still open providing services during the pandemic. Okay. The evidence seems to suggest pretty clearly that young people were not at high risk during the pandemic, right? It's pretty obvious from the beginning, but clearly obvious now, right? It was really frustrating when the federal government was paying the young people who are the safest amongst us to not work and stay home, which forced me to pay even more to get them to come back to work. So I'm not competing against the fast food restaurant or this, that, and the other. I'm competing against the federal government that is telling people you can stay home and make even more than what you were making when you were working. That is frustrating. That would make me want to pound the table. How am I supposed to run a business if this is what's happening here? And there's lots of guys like you and guys in your class, whatever else, that maybe want to be a physical therapist. And it was just a matter of giving them time to make their way back into being interns and wanting to come back and work as an aide to get that experience, to interact with the people. And we just had to get through that rough period of time. So sometimes it's a matter of letting yourself have that emotional space to be happy, to be sad, to be frustrated, what have you. But I listen sometimes to Dennis Prager, and he makes an argument that on a scale of 1 to 10, you should try to shoot to always be around a 7. Not too low, not too high, pretty consistent. So I've kind of adopted that. That's my goal, is to be a 7.
Got it. Would you say that you are able to freely express about any feelings in the workplace?
I own the place, so yeah, and that's the environment I've been able to create. We have a key principle, key rule. We treat everyone with dignity and respect. Okay, but what if you're having a bad day? You treat everyone else with dignity and respect. But wait, what if that person has a different ethnic background, a different religious background, a different sexual preference, a different eye color, a different more melanocytes, less melanocytes? You treat everybody with dignity and respect, right? So with that being our framework, I am free to speak, but I'm not going to say anything that is disrespectful or undermines the dignity of another person. There it is. That's our company motto in a nutshell.
Okay.
With respect to this concept, yeah.
Do you feel like you can trust at least 3 people in the workplace?
I trust everyone in the workplace.
Yeah.
It's my business. My litmus test is I leave my wallet on my desk every single day.
Mm.
And my front desk person will say, Jeff, what do you want for lunch? I'll say, hey, we'll get this, whatever. And she'll go to my wallet, she'll grab the credit card, she knows which one it is, she'll go buy the food, she'll put the credit card back in my wallet.
Mm.
Our company is based on taking care of other people. If I can't trust you with my credit card, how could I trust you to work with another patient who's infinitely more valuable than a credit card that I can cancel in 5 seconds?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not here to tempt everybody or try to, we have checks and balances to try to make sure that being dishonest is hard, right? We incentivize it and we try to create systems to make it so that being honest is what people want to do, right? Mm-hmm. But with that being said, yes, I trust the people on my team.
Got it. Would you describe your workplace as somewhere that you are constantly learning new things? And if so, how so?
Well, I think that is really user, in this case me, dependent. If I want to be learning, I have the opportunity to learn. If I want to be distracted with other things, then I won't be learning. Mm-hmm. So I can learn from my patients, I can learn from my colleagues on a regular basis if I choose to. And obviously in the academic setting, right, there's all kinds of new and different ideas that if you're willing to put the time and energy in, you can learn all kinds of new and different things. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll be guilty of saying, hey, there have been times where I've been sidetracked or not focused where I need to be, where I wasn't learning as much as I could have or should have. But yeah, I mean, I'm in an opportunity where I get a chance to learn every day.
Got it. All right, well, that's all the questions I got for you today.
Man, that was good, man. I thought I was going to get grilled harder than that.
Yeah, it was just the one question. I should have found the other ones.
No, these are good. These are good. Well, did you get everything you wanted to know?
Yeah, I got everything.
All right. Is there anything you think your classmates want to know?
Classmates want to know. What do you think? What advice would you give to say for me, I want to be a physical therapist to get where you are?
Well, okay. Number one, it's flattering, but I think definitely good to have role models of people who've done it before you. But it's going to be your journey, and you want to think about what your goals are, what you want to do as you go forward. But yeah, certainly look at what different people have done. And one of the things we try to do with our students, right, is we try to create a faster route to expertise. Meaning we're going to try to get them to not hit as many of the errors and roadblocks that we hit to try to get to a level of expertise. That's our goal. And so it's the same thing, for you or your classmates. So I would say, number one, physical therapy is highly competitive. So your grades do matter. If you had a rough start when you started school, that's okay, but get back on track. When you can get the A, get the A. Don't settle for the B- or the B+ because you passed the class and it's not a big deal, right? Get the A when you can get the A. Because there'll be some classes you're going to do work your hardest at, you may not get the A, right? You're taking organic chemistry or molecular bio, whatever it is, and you're like, man, I worked my tail off, I got a B-. Okay, hey, God bless you, good job, right? But when you've got that class that you can get that A and put the time in, get the A. Get your grades matter. That's number one, I'd say. Number two, I think it's really important you get some real world experience. Work in a clinic, volunteer in a clinic, get to the hospital, get to a skilled nursing facility, shadow someone who does home health. You need to see the good, the bad, the ugly, because you got to figure out, hey, am I going to get up every day and do this job? Because I dropped $150,000 to go to school and learn this. And so I got this bill to pay for the next 20 years. I got to roll out of rack and go to work. So if you're not going to be motivated to go to work, it may not be the job for you. So get some of that real world experience. Talk to PTs. Don't talk about how awesome it is to work with this all-star athletes and say tell me about the grind. Tell me about your grind every day, right? And really start to understand, can you connect with that and still be willing to handle that grind to do the job that you want to do. Mm-hmm. I teach at a program. I think it's a great program at Western University. I'd encourage all of you guys to apply, come to our school. But all the schools are accredited by the same accrediting body,
Mhm.
right? That means everyone has the same requirements as far as faculty, as far as courses and content. So there are lots of different price points, but everybody's accredited by the same organization.
Yeah.
So, maybe the best choice for you at a program you're at may not be the number one program in the country that has the number one price tag in the country.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to find one that fits more of the boxes for you, proximity or geographic location or faculty student ratio, those sort of things. Finally, I would say, if you have a passion to help other people, right, there are lots of health professions. Sort through it a little bit and make sure this is the one that you want to do. Physician assistant, occupational therapy, speech therapy, nursing. There's lots of options that you can be in the healthcare world and help other people. I love PT, right? I would encourage all of you guys to come do it with me. But it may not be everyone's thing. So you want to make sure it's your thing. Because then you get the advantage of having a great job, great pay, a job you love, a job you can take anywhere, a job that you can work in any state at any time. So pick the state. It's Monday. We're taping this on Tuesday night, all right? You tell me the state. I can go on my phone right now and show you a job I could have by Friday this week. So that's great, right? I mean, that's a lot different than what a lot of other folks are dealing with, where they're always trying to hustle to find that next job and next opportunity. You have a career, right, that you can do and you can pick up anywhere. So there's a lot of advantages to that. So it's good if you can get it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate
There it is.
Very insightful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Deuces.